right, aloha friends. Welcome to another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Grey Wolf Promotions. I'm your host Brian Goss with GM Sports Media. My guest today is a dear friend of mine, uh, the Parker County Godfather, Mr. Nolan Ruth. Nolan, welcome back to the show.
Man, good to be back. I remember texting you last week. I don't think I've done a show since the Rangers were had won the pennant from the Astros. I think it's been almost. I mean, it's been a good 8-9 months since I've been on the show.
Well, good to have you back. Uh, we'll start by
Glad to be back.
we'll start by announcing some exciting news here. Uh, Nolan is going to be the official insider of all Parker County, and he's joining the team at GM Sports Media. So officially, welcome to the team.
Thanks, man. I could not be more excited about this news. I've been trying to keep it under wraps and not tell a lot of people about it till it became official. But I there were some I had to tell, but there are others that I just kind of hinted, hey, there's something big coming. So now that this is official and I can finally talk about it, that's a relief off my shoulders. But man, I'm really excited. You and I go back quite a few years, and now with GM Sports Media, having met Maddie a few times, and our meeting just yesterday. And man, I'm excited to be on board and help your company any way I can.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Let's go. We've talked about this before, and you even told this story. I think the last time you were on, but you've kind of adopted the name Parker County Godfather. Can you just share that story about how that came about?
Yeah, so it was a couple years ago, and uh, it was the Millsap Bulldogs. It was the end of the regular season for football, and Millsap had clinched playoff berth. But I thought they had the 4 seed. I misadded on the tiebreaker, and so I got a text message from their head coach Jake Johnson saying, "By the way, you added wrong. We're the 2 seed." And so I remember we were at Bobby V's, and I stood up and put my hands in the air like this, and I was so excited that they got the 2 seed. They got a fairly easier first round match than they otherwise would have had. And I remember it was you actually that asked me, who covers Parker County, and I said, well, I mean, I guess you do, and you said, well, not really. I mean, Alito, Brock, Weatherford when they're good here and there, and you're like, man, you should double down on Parker County, your coverage there, and it was Matt Diggs who looked over and said, yeah, we can call him the Godfather of Parker County sports, and that just took off and it ran, and it was actually at Millsap about a year ago. I want to say I was at an event. Their head coach Jake Johnson is battling form of leukemia right now, and so they had a fundraiser event for him about a year ago that I went to, and they it was at Bulldog Stadium, and it was Chick Tippy. Shout out Chick Tippy. He got on the PA system in the press box, and it was a 7-on-7 event, and he just goes, "Hey, shout out to the Godfather of Parker County sports who's here today." And I mean, everyone else embraced it. I was kind of thinking it was a joke, but hey, I've taken it and run with it. I've enjoyed my time. Really kind of doubling down on the Parker County coverage, getting to meet all the great people in the communities of Peaster, Millsap. Obviously, I know already a lot from Alito, but Springtown being added, Brock as well. The people of Brock have really accepted me, and I appreciate that as well. And then even just the smaller schools, Azle Christian got to go to my first game of theirs this year. I haven't been to a Willow Park TCA game since I was in high school, and a lot of my friends are playing for them. I'm going to get to see them at some point this year, most likely. Man, they've all just welcomed me with open arms, and they love the media coverage, and I love all of them. So yeah, that's kind of how that all came about, and I'm glad that now I can have a platform and step into an official role with that title.
Awesome. Yeah, the PCG, Parker County Godfather. Awesome. Just kind of background for our audience. just talk about being in Parker County. You know, you're an Alito grad, and then off of that, just these last, I guess, 6, 7 years now, just falling in love with that passion, like me, of just covering high school sports.
So to tell that story, I got to go way back to the 1990s before I was even born. And even before that, my grandparents, Bruce and Penny Casburn, have they share the story all the time that when they were first married, back in the early 70s, like that was their entertainment. They'd find a $5 bill and go buy tickets to the nearest high school football game, which was typically in the Arlington area. Um, and so, I mean, it stems from my grandparents' love of high school sports, and so they moved to Alito a little bit before I was born. I want to say '93, maybe it was later than that, maybe it was '95, but they that was right around the time that Tim Buchanan stepped onto the scene at Alito, and everyone who had all my family members and everyone who was marrying into the family. My grandfather was like, "Hey, this town's got something good going here with its football program. You should come out on Friday nights with us." And so, I was just raised in that. And the '98 state championship game, 10 days before I was born, doctors told my mom, "Do not go to Houston for that game." She went anyway. So I like to say that I was there. I just wasn't conscious yet. But so that's what it stems from. And then just growing up, my grandfather would take me just to random games. I mean, I remember this one year we went and watched Decatur play Abilene Wiley up in Decatur. It had nothing to do with Alito at all. So I had a love for high school football and high school sports. And then it was about the time I graduated high school. My uncle Jim Zimmerman, he kind of gave me a link, and he's like, "Hey, this company, which I will not name because for other reasons." Uh, he's like, "Hey, this company's looking for writers," and he sent me a link, and they reached out to me. Their managing editor at the time reached out to me, and I sent him a couple samples of what I could do. I was like, "Look, I'm fresh out of high school. I've never been published, but here are a few, just articles that are just really thoughts I've jotted down." And he's like, "Dude, I think you've got a bright future in this." So I got on with them. I did one season for them. We had some trouble. That's all I'll say about that situation. Then I got a couple buddies of mine, shout out Blake Martin and Seth Moorhead, that helped me launch which I still have the DBA for, Nolan and Company Sports. We had a podcast. We did a lot of high school football coverage. And then, just bouncing around. For a time, I was the sports writer in Alito at the Community News. I've done some work for SB Live, which is the SI, the Sports Illustrated high school coverage site. I did some work for them. So I've just bounced around, man, and just the love for it. I mean, there's a story behind every game I've covered, and I love it. I love meeting people. I love going to these games, seeing great football, great communities that some of which early on in my career I'd never heard of these towns before. So it's just that's how that came about. And I really just fell in love with it. And obviously getting to meet you and our friends Kenny and Darren and Brandon McAuliffe, who I have an interesting friendship with, just that's just added on to it. And so but yeah, it was really that day that you just asked, who covers Parker County. Obviously, I have a lot of love for Alito. My jersey and my state medal are hanging behind me. But then I got to go to a lot of Brock games, meet a lot of people in Brock. Peaster started football not long after, so I got to go. Oh, I don't think I was at their inaugural game, but I think I was at one of their first ones when they joined the UIL. And then Millsap, which is a town I had never heard of till I was a senior in high school. Finally getting to go out there, meet those people. And Parker County is just full of great people, man. And so the way they've welcomed me in my coverage and just how I love it, and I love the football, and they allow me to be blunt. If I have a problem with something that they're doing, I'm going to say it, and they more often than not appreciate hearing it. There are some that will approach me and come, "Why'd you say that?" But it's all part of it.
Talking with Nolan Ruth, the new Parker County insider for us, gmsportsmedia.com. I wanted to dive in about some of the early football games you're covering, but I just thought about this. You have added on a few teams to your Parker County coverage. Can you give us
Yeah.
a little rundown on who's been added this year?
So it was a very, very interesting day for me because I got sent a map of school districts in the state of Texas. And in this map, they had the county borders, like Parker County is a perfect square, right? They had the county borders in that so I could see who is in there. Well, there is actually a fairly large subdivision of Lipan, which is, kind of down closer to Stephenville or Granbury area. There's a fairly large subdivision in Lipan that makes up a good amount of their enrollment. They don't play football, so you won't hear a lot about them in the fall from me. And then Azle, I always tried to avoid Azle a little bit just because, that I always thought that more of Tarrant County, but that high school is right on the border of the county. And so when I saw that map, there's a larger portion in Parker County than there is in Tarrant County in Azle ISD. So that was what I was like, oh, well, there you go. I got to add Azle now. And then I actually, funny story, I got a ticket in Azle not that long ago. So I had to go into the courthouse and pay that ticket. And sure enough, I looked on the receipt and it said Parker County. And I'm like, all right, there you go. That's really all I needed to see. So I've added the Azle Hornets and the Lipan Indians to my coverage. Unfortunately, the way my preliminary schedule has worked out, I might not be able to see Azle this football season. Maybe that'll change as the season goes on, but just what I've looked at as kind of what the bones for what I want to get from my schedule, it doesn't look like I might be able to see Azle, but Azle is part of my coverage now.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty funny. If Azo knew you were the Parker County Godfather and had been covering them for a couple of years, they might have let that one slide. But that's
Yeah.
talking about schedules again. We're like I think just 5 weeks away from the opening kickoff regular season. Again, it's come fast. We're looking forward to it. We're excited, always excited for football season.
Not fast enough, by the way.
Yeah, but yeah, just give us a little idea of that first week 1, maybe even week 2, some of the games you'll be out covering.
So I'm pretty firm on, I would say, my first 4 weeks of the season. I'm going to open up on Friday night, week 1, Weatherford at home against LD Bell. Obviously, they spent a lot of time in the same district. It kind of created a budding rivalry. Seemed like every time those two met, there was a playoff spot on the line. So the fact that they're keeping that going in week 1 and playing each other, I think is great. I think it'll give me a good opportunity to get an early look at the Kangaroos. I have a story coming that will be for you in the next couple of days that is all about the Weatherford season. But that's where I'm going to open it up. I'm interested to see what Aubrey Sims has done with that program. I haven't really gotten to get a good look at them in the past couple of years. So I'm very much looking forward to being in Weatherford and getting a look at that and seeing what the Roos have. The very next day, I am going to come back to my trailer here in Kennedale, and I'm going to fall asleep, get up early, and get my butt down to Bryan, Texas, where Weatherford Christian is playing Sugarland Logos Prep. And that's a game that I think they played last year since that last year was kind of weird for me with Weatherford Christian. They moved down to, or they abandoned 11-man, go back to play 6-man ball. But because it wasn't a realignment year, TAPS didn't put them in a district. They played kind of an outlaw 6-man schedule. Now they're back in TAPS. They have a district assigned. So, it's going to be interesting. But the really interesting thing about the Lions this year is they just had a very, very last minute change of head coach. Justin Tate has left WCS and is now joining the staff at Olney, just out west. And WCS has hired Nick Jones, who most recently has been an assistant under Gary McElroy when he was at Peaster. I've gotten the chance to reach out to Coach Jones. He's reached back out to me as well. We haven't gotten the opportunity to talk yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the table for Weatherford Christian. So that'll be Saturday, 11 a.m., week 1, down in Bryan, Texas. Week 2, I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to be a good battle between Aledo and Lancaster. Aledo losing a lot in the secondary, which I think is probably going to be the biggest fear for me with that defense this year. Speedy team like Lancaster, they can expose that secondary and work that out and make it to where Aledo can work that out. so they can really see the flaws. I'm looking forward to that one. My early prediction, I still give Lido the edge in that one, but I think that's going to be a good one at Tim Buchanan Stadium. Week 3, Brock is hosting Aubrey. And here's the crazy thing, Brian, for all my time in this industry, and as many times as I've seen Brock, I have never seen a Brock home game. I will be at Eagle Stadium for the first time week 3 when they play the Aubrey Chaparrals. And so I'm looking forward to that one. And obviously my history with head coach Billy Mathis, he was the defensive coordinator to Lido when I played back home. And so, he and I have a good rapport. We talk quite a bit. Looking forward to seeing what the Eagles bring to the table this year. And then the week after that will be my first of 4 opportunities to see Springtown this year when they play China Spring, who they didn't win this past year, but in the last 3 years have won 2 state titles. And honestly, for my state mind as well, I think it'd be good for me to see China Spring and what they have. But that'll be my first opportunity to see the Porcupines, and folks in Springtown can get used to my face because I am not going to see it, at least in the regular season. There's nobody else I'm going to see 4 times. It's only like Springtown is the team that I will see the most this year. And part of that is because they have a Thursday night game in Fort Worth ISD and a Saturday morning game in Fort Worth ISD. So yeah, that definitely helps, but I'll be that's definitely my first 4 weeks. And I'm pretty firm on those first 4 weeks.
Yeah, sounds like a great slate of games. Weatherford Bell, sort of last 2 years at least, playing in district, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but still possibility of a first round of the playoffs there, and then Lido Lancaster ought to be really good. I'll get you out on this again. Congrats and welcome to the team, gmsportsmedia.com. But we've talked about this a number of times, but can you just let our audience and our readers know what they can kind of expect from you this year?
So number one, there's not going to be a Thursday night game for Parker County every week. So I am going to help you wherever you need me to be. So I'm not, my main focus is Parker County, but that's not going to stop me from being other places this season. I do have an obligation with killerfrogs.com, part of the Sports Illustrated network, Fan Nation network. So most Saturdays I'll be at TCU games, but definitely a Parker County game of the week every week. There'll be a preview with it. I'm going to do my typical Parker County roundup that I do on typically on Twitter. Now I can put it in article form and get that on the actual site. I'm going to try to do some kind of midweek story every week, whether that's a feature on a specific player or coach, or maybe if there's a shocking upset, I'll dive deeper into that. There's going to be some kind of midweek story every week. And then, the return of the Parker County Sports Podcast, which I'm looking forward to. I hopefully can get a guest on once a week, whether it's coach, player, whoever, AD, whoever, or even you. I'm looking forward to that. So definitely the podcast every week, some kind of midweek story, my game of the week preview, and there will be some weeks there will be 2 Parker County games of the week, and then just the Parker County roundup at the end of it. And when it comes to the podcast, I might have players of the week, may have the coach of the week, may have the game of the week. I'm still kind of in the planning stage of what to do with the podcast, but I think I have a good idea of where I want to go with it.
Awesome. Yeah, all sounds great. Manny and I, again, we're excited to have you, and our audience, you guys can make sure to follow Nolan on Twitter at Real Nolan Ruth. Give him a follow, give him a shout out, and he's going to have some great coverage from Parker County. But Nolan, thanks so much for hopping on, and excited for this partnership.
I am too, man. Can't wait for it.
All right, that's the Parker County Godfather and our new Parker County insider, Nolan Ruth, gmsportsmedia.com. This is another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Grey Wolf Promotions. Check them out for some really cool fan gear, fan shirts at www.greywolfpromotions.com. Again, check us out, gmsportsmedia.com.